A major Liberal climate policy is being quietly shelved. Now, I'm glad to hear it. But why isn't the climate change worrywart media busy holding Justin Trudeau to account for this failure? Back during the 2019 election campaign, Justin Trudeau said that his government was going to plant trees to fight climate change. Now, here's the story from the National Post from back then. Justin Trudeau promised Friday that if re-elected, a Liberal government would use revenues from the Trans Mountain Pipeline to pay for a $3 billion plan to use nature to combat climate change, which includes planting 2 billion trees over the next decade. The promise is in the latest plank of Justin Trudeau's plan to protect the environment, which he unveiled in pieces at campaign stops over the past week while defending his government's controversial purchase of the pipeline. Honestly, this isn't Trudeau's worst idea. Hear me out. I had a lot of problems with this program at the time, and I still do, and I'll get to those in a second. But I thought this strange announcement was actually a step in the right direction, a step towards science. Because at least Justin Trudeau was acknowledging that CO2 is a necessary tree food and not the carbon pollution that his government loves to say it is. Now, of course, tree planting, definitely not the government's business. The private sector does it pretty well here in Canada. According to 2016 data, the private sector plants about 500 million trees per year without government intervention at all. So, completely left alone, unmolested by the Trudeau Liberals, the forestry industry would have planted 2 billion trees in just 4 years. 4 years is both a lifetime when Trudeau is in power, but it's also the short time in between election cycles. And none of this would have cost the taxpayers a thing. Justin Trudeau, on the other hand, promised to plant 2 billion trees over a decade at a cost of $3 billion to the taxpayer. Anyway, good news, the program is an absolute failure, not because they tried it and wasted a bunch of money, but because they couldn't even get this thing to launch, which is a good thing depending on how you look at it and what your politics are. I think it's great though, because I guess spending $3 billion to add a statistical rounding error to Canada's tree count, we have some 318 billion trees, or almost 9,000 trees per person. Well, it isn't exactly a pressing issue for Canadians or for the Liberals, for that matter, which is weird because these people won't shut up about climate change, and they won't shut up about how urgent an issue it is when they're busy insisting that taxes change the weather. Now, here's the story about the failure to launch in Blacklock's reporter. Cabinet will not launch a promised ambitious tree planting blitz this year, though it was proposed to create thousands of summer jobs. The Liberal Party, in its 2019 election platform, said planting hundreds of millions of trees a year would put 3,500 unemployed to work. Program details are being developed, Cabinet wrote in an inquiry of ministry tabled in the Commons. As the plan is being developed, the projected breakdown of trees planted has yet to be determined. Now, I'm still not clear why the Liberals even thought this was a good idea. I mean, where did they think they were going to put all these extra trees anyway? Were they going to just forcibly reclaim arable farmland? And why did they think we have some sort of lack of trees anyway that needed to be addressed through expensive government intervention? Just look at this. From Natural Resources Canada. So, the government's own data, as in the government actually knew how dumb this idea was from the very beginning. Canada's forests cover 347 million hectares of land and make up nearly 9% of the world's total forest. Canada is the third most forested country in the world by area, with nearly 10 hectares per person. Canadians enjoy more forest area per person than most other countries in the world, over 17 times the world average. Now, is this just more of the Liberals not believing in Canadian exceptionalism when it comes to our environmental record, that they had to create a non-existent tree problem that they were going to fix for $3 billion? For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. I don't believe it's the government's job to create jobs. In fact, it's the government's job to get out of the way of those who do. And that's why I think it's time to end the coronavirus lockdown and let everybody get back to work. To see our full coverage of this issue and to sign our petition, please go to letuswork.ca.